Guys, just take a look at this control. It works perfectly, it's just yellowed a lot. But we're going to fix that today by turning it back to its original color. Want to find out how we do it? Then just continue here. Hey guys, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Andre, and the process we're going to do today is called RETROBRIGHT. It's basically restoring the original color to a plastic that looks like this. But how does this plastic get so yellow? Here's what happens. In the manufacture of this plastic, which is ABS plastic, a flame retardant called bromine is used. But this bromine has a problem. When the plastic is irradiated with UV rays present in the light, an instability occurs between the bromine and the plastic. This causes a chemical reaction to take place, and the oxygen in the environment enters the bond, and this is what causes the yellowing of the plastic. But it can be solved. So what are we going to do? We're going to cover the plastic with hydrogen peroxide and irradiate it with UV rays. And the bond between the bromine and the plastic will become unstable because of the UV rays, but because of the hydrogen peroxide instead of the oxygen from the atmosphere entering the plastic. What will enter is the hydrogen from the hydrogen peroxide, expelling the oxygen that is causing the yellowing, returning the plastic to its original color. But how am I going to do that? Where am I going to get this hydrogen peroxide stuff from? I don't even know what that is. And UV rays, where am I going to get UV rays? How am I going to make UV rays to irradiate the plastic? Don't worry, all we'll need in the end is a fluorescent lamp and a pot of 40-volume hydrogen peroxide for bleaching hair. Not long ago, I did this procedure with a PS1 controller. This PS1 controller was hanging on a street vendor's stall. It didn't work. I ended up taking it home, but it was very yellow, because what makes it yellow is the UV ray. This controller had been sitting in the sun all day, so you can imagine how yellow it was. But after this procedure, I was able to revert it to its original color almost 100%. I said that all we needed was a lamp and hydrogen peroxide, but there are a few things we can use to improve our process even more. For example, this liquid vanish here. We can use it to mix in the hydrogen peroxide, because hydrogen peroxide is very creamy. So, to make it easier to spread, I use a brush to spread it. Then, to make it easier, I mix in a little vanish, because this already has hydrogen peroxide in it. In other words, if we mix it with hydrogen peroxide, there's no reaction, there's no problem. And then, it will be a little more liquid, easier to spread. Another thing we can use is this. We'll take this sheet of aluminum foil to put our plastic on top. Why? This will help the UV rays to radiate evenly throughout our plastic, as they will hit the aluminum foil and reflect onto the plastic. We can also use a box. We'll put the aluminum foil on the inside and put the plastic inside the box, and we'll put the lamp on top. Not just any light bulb. The best possible light bulb is a black light bulb. But black light bulbs are more expensive and harder to find. So we can use a fluorescent lamp, which will work just as well. It emits fewer UV rays, but that's enough. We can't use an LED bulb. LED bulbs don't emit UV rays, so it has to be one of these. And in addition to the bulb, we could also use the sun, because the sun also emits UV rays. But there's a problem with the sun. It's very strong. So we're going to use more hydrogen peroxide, because we're going to have to stand there looking at it. And every time it dries, we're going to have to rinse it, and it dries very quickly. In a few minutes, it's already dried, and the sun is so strong that it can stain the plastic. It can lighten even the parts that aren't yellowed, and then in the end, the plastic can be stained. I only recommend that you use the sun if the plastic is very, very, very yellow. Even on the PlayStation 1 controller I mentioned, I put it in the sun because it was very yellow. Now, if it's only a little yellow like that Nintendo 64 controller I showed you, the best thing to do is to put it in the lamp. Then, you put it inside the box, with the aluminum foil and the lamp on top. In this procedure with the lamp, it will take 2 to 3 days for it to light up completely. With the sun, it takes a few minutes, but there is a risk of it becoming stained. So it's up to you what you choose. So let's lighten the plastic. The first thing we're going to do is dismantle the controller or console, whatever you're going to whiten, and take everything out, leaving only the casing. You can't leave anything metal inside because otherwise it will rust. Look, I'm also going to lighten this Super Nintendo casing. You can see that it's very yellow on the back. So, the first thing I do is take everything that's plastic, put it in soapy water, let it soak for a while, and wash it very well to get all the dirt off. Everything that's encrusted, especially in these parts here inside where dirt gets in. It gets into the controls a lot. And if we wash it, it won't remove any of the yellowing because the yellowing is part of the plastic. So washing is just to get the dirt off. Now that it's clean, we're going to lighten it. So let's go. Look, guys, I've lined the box with aluminum foil. The mixture is ready. Here it is. Vanish with hydrogen peroxide. I'm going to apply it using a brush. So I'll take the larger parts first, and we'll apply the mixture and put it inside the box. Okay, I've put everything in here. Now we'll cover it up and turn on the light. Don't let your hand get too dirty with hydrogen peroxide for too long. Otherwise, it will start to burn. Ideally, you should use a glove, one of those hair dye gloves. But if you don't, get rid of it as quickly as possible. And wash your hand. Don't let the hydrogen peroxide get on your hand. So look, we're going to cover it up. It's going to stay in here for about 2 days, so we can come in every 8 hours or so. Take a look. Change the plastics so that the whole area gets some light, and give the hydrogen peroxide a touch-up. The lid is here. I drilled a hole in it to put the bulb through. Then we'll close it. Light bulb on. Everything's inside. Now just wait. I finished lightening everything. The plastic stayed in the box for 2 days. On the second day, I took the larger parts that were more yellow and put them in the sun for a while. Just like I said. Because it was taking a long time to lighten them, there were some parts that were very yellow. So I left them in the sun for a while to see if they would lighten more, and it worked. This Super Nintendo. Look at it. It looks new. It was very yellow here at the back. I didn't show it assembled like this before. I only showed its casing. But you could see that here, especially at the back. It was very yellow. And look, it looks brand new now. The Super Nintendo controller too. Take a look at this controller. This controller looks 20 years old, more than 20 years old. It looks brand new. And what I showed you at the beginning of the video, the Nintendo 64 controller. Look how it turned out. Just let me get the focus. I'll put the before and after, so you can see the difference between the before and after controllers. We're at the end of another video, so that's it for today. Did this video help you guys? Did you know that? Did you know that you could lighten old controllers or consoles in this way? If this video was useful to you, if you like this content, if you want to continue watching content like this, subscribe to the channel here. Thank you very much for watching. So long and bye.